Well, good news. Today, we're diving deep into all of that, figuring out if living together is like the ultimate relationship test.
A test, yeah. You can say that. I
Yeah.
mean, some studies actually suggest that living together before marriage could lead to higher divorce rates. It's called the cohabitation effect.
No, really. So does that mean moving in together is basically a one-way ticket to Splitsville?
Well, hold on. Not so fast. Some researchers say it's not that simple. It might not be living together itself. Maybe there are other things going on.
Okay, so it's not like a guaranteed relationship curse or anything. Phew. So what are these other factors then? Like, why are some couples who live together more likely to split?
Well, think about it. Sometimes people who choose to live together, maybe they already have different ideas about marriage, or different levels of commitment. Maybe those differences were already there even before they moved in together.
Ah, I see. So it's not just about the address. It's about, where their heads are at.
Yeah, exactly. Like their mindset going in.
Okay, interesting. But hey, before we get too doom and gloom, let's talk about the good stuff. Why do people even want to live together in the first place?
Right. There's got to be some perks.
Exactly. There's got to be a reason why so many couples are taking this leap, right?
Definitely. One of the biggest things is compatibility. You get to see each other in real life situations, doing dishes, figuring out the thermostat.
Oh, I see. It's like a sneak peek at married life, but without the whole legal thing.
Exactly. You're right. You see how they handle everyday stuff. Are they good at compromising? Can they communicate when things get tough?
Oh, yeah. Speaking of communication, isn't living together the best way to learn how to actually talk to each other?
You're so right.
I mean, you can't avoid those tough conversations when you're bumping into each other in the kitchen every day.
Absolutely. Sharing a space makes you face those conversations head on. It's like a crash course in communication, which is, let's be honest, super important for any relationship.
Totally agree. Plus, wouldn't it be nice to, skip those post-wedding surprises? No more, wait, you leave your socks on the floor moments after you've said, I do.
Right. You get to see all that stuff beforehand.
See the real them, quirks and all.
It's definitely about vulnerability. You see each other at your best and worst.
And somehow, that makes you closer.
It can be incredibly bonding, yeah.
Okay, I'm convinced. Compatibility testing, communication boot camp, and avoiding those post-wedding shockers. What else is there to love about living together?
Let's not forget about the emotional side of things.
Oh yes, tell me more. Spill the emotional tea.
It's about sharing a space, navigating daily life together. It creates this feeling of partnership. You have your inside jokes, routines, memories you make in your space. It adds a whole new layer to your relationship.
It's about more than just splitting the rent, right?
Man, more. It's like building a life together.
Brick by brick. Okay, I'm totally feeling the warm fuzzies over here.
It's powerful, that feeling of we're in this together. It can really strengthen your bond.
Okay, so far so good. But we can't pretend everything is perfect, right? I mean, moving in together can't be all sunshine and rainbows. There's got to be a downside.
Absolutely. It's super important to go into it with, realistic expectations.
Right. Eyes wide open.
Cohabitation definitely comes with challenges.
Okay, let's talk about those challenges. What about that cohabitation effect we mentioned earlier? Is that something to really worry about?
Some studies suggest there might be a connection, but remember, it's not like a direct cause and effect.
Okay, so it's not like move in together and your relationship is doomed.
Not at all.
So what's the deal with this cohabitation effect then?
Well, for example, some research found that couples who move in together, mainly for financial reasons, they might be more at risk, if it's not driven by a deeper commitment.
Makes sense. It's not just about sharing an address. It's about the why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even beyond the statistics, there are real-life challenges to consider. Sometimes you might feel stuck.
Stuck? Like how?
Well, you've got the shared finances, the lease, maybe you even adopted a pet together. It can be hard to walk away, even when things aren't so great emotionally.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's even if your heart isn't in it anymore, all that other stuff can make it tough to leave.
It can, yeah. And sometimes you and your partner might have totally different ideas about what living together actually means.
Yeah.
One person might see it as a step toward marriage, while the other sees it as the end goal.
Oh, that's a recipe for disaster. Different expectation.
Right. One person's stepping stone is another person's final destination.
Exactly. And what about family? I feel like sometimes families can have strong opinions about living together before marriage.
Totally. Cultural or religious beliefs can definitely come into play.
Right. It can create tension.
Yeah. Either in the relationship itself or with your families. It's important to think about that whole context.
Okay, so before anyone rents a moving van, we need to have some serious conversations, huh?
Big time. It's not just about finding an apartment that fits both your furniture styles. It's about making sure you're actually on the same page. Values, expectations, the whole 9 yards.
Laying a strong foundation.
Exactly. A foundation built on communication, mutual respect, and a shared vision for your future together.
So how do we even start those conversations? It seems kind of daunting, you know? Where do we begin unpacking all of this?
Well, the first step is looking inward. Like, ask yourself, why do I want to live with this person? Is it convenience, finances, or something deeper?
Okay, so step one is understanding our own motivations.
Exactly. Get clear on your own why. Then you're ready to bring it to the table.
That makes sense. So I've done some soul searching, figured out my why. Now, how do I bring it up to my partner? Like, how do I start that conversation without it becoming a huge fight?
Well, that's a great question, and that's what we'll pick up next time. We'll dive into strategies for having those tricky conversations, setting boundaries, and navigating those bumps in the road.
Sounds like a plan. So stay tuned, everyone, because things are about to get real.
Welcome back, everyone. So last time, we were talking about getting clear on your own why before you even think about moving in together.
Right. Your personal motivations.
Exactly. Like, why do I want to live with this person? What am I hoping to get out of it?
Yeah, that's a crucial first step.
Okay, so let's say we've both done our homework. We've figured out our own whys. Now what? How do we actually have this conversation with our partner? It feels kind of scary, to be honest.
I get it. It's a big conversation. But it doesn't have to be terrifying. It's all about setting the right tone, you know?
Okay, so like mood lighting, candles, romantic music.
Well, maybe not all that. But yeah, the environment matters. Choose a time and place where you can both relax and be yourselves. Maybe it's at home or a walk in the park. Somewhere you can talk openly without feeling rushed. Okay, no pressure, comfy vibes. Got it. But how do I actually start the conversation? I'm picturing a lot of awkward silences and nervous laughter.
Keep it simple. You could say something like, hey, I've been thinking about us living together, and I wanted to hear your thoughts.
Okay, that's not so bad. Just putting it out there.
Right. Be open and honest about your feelings, but also invite them to share theirs. No judgment, just a genuine conversation.
So it's more about listening than like presenting a case for or against living together.
Exactly. This isn't a debate. It's about understanding each other, really listening to what your partner has to say. Put the phones away, make eye contact, the whole 9 yards.
Active listening. I can do that. But what about those moments where, like, we just don't agree? What if we have different expectations or wants?
That's where those deal breakers come in. You know, those things that are absolutely essential for you to be happy in a living situation.
Oh, yeah. Like maybe one person is super tidy and the other is, well, not so much.
Exactly. Or different sleep schedules. Or how you handle guests. It's good to identify those potential conflicts early on.
So we're not blindsided later.
Right. And remember, compromise doesn't mean sacrificing your core values. It's about finding solutions that work for both of you.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's about being flexible, but also being honest about what we need. And even if we're super compatible, I feel like living together will still bring up some surprises. Like, what about those times when we just need some space?
Absolutely. That's where boundaries come in. They're crucial in any relationship, but even more so when you're sharing a living space.
Boundaries, tell me more. I'm intrigued.
It's about creating a sense of personal space, even within a shared life. It could be anything from having designated me time, to how you handle guests, to how you divide those dreaded chores.
Speaking of chores, that's a topic I'd rather avoid altogether. Like, who does what, how often? It feels like a recipe for arguments.
I hear you, but trust me, it's way better to talk about it up front. Who's responsible for what? How often will you do those tasks? Do you like doing them together or separately? Getting on the same page early on can prevent a lot of resentment down the road.
Makes sense. I'd much rather have that conversation now than be passive-aggressively washing dishes every night.
Right. It's about being proactive.
Okay, I'm starting to see how important boundaries are. It's not about being controlling. It's about making sure we both feel comfortable and respected in our shared space.
Exactly. It's about understanding each other's needs. And speaking of things that can get tricky, let's talk about finances.
Oh yeah, the money talk. Not always the most romantic, but definitely necessary.
You got it. It's essential to be open about your income, your spending habits, any debts you might have.
So like full financial disclosure?
Pretty much.
Okay, but how do we even start that conversation? I don't want it to feel like an interrogation.
Start with the basics, like how will you split expenses? Will you go 50-50 or adjust based on income? Will you have a joint account or keep things separate? How will you handle unexpected costs?
Because let's face it, those always pop up.
Right. Car repairs, vet bills, that sudden urge to redecorate.
It happens. So we need a plan for that.
It's about creating a financial system that feels fair to both of you. And don't forget about long-term goals. Are you saving for a house? Retirement? That dream vacation?
Those are important conversations to have together.
Absolutely, you're a team.
Wow, we've covered a lot. Personal motivations, deal breakers, boundaries, finances. It's a lot to think about before moving in together.
It is, but these conversations, even though they might be tough, they're ultimately about building a stronger foundation for your relationship.
It's like the pre-move-in work is just as important as the actual move.
You could say that. It's about laying the groundwork for a shared life that feels good, supportive, and joyful.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We've talked about all the prep work, the tough conversations, setting boundaries, figuring out finances.
All the important stuff.
Yeah, all the stuff you got to do before you even pack a single box.
Right, laying that foundation.
So now, let's say the moving truck has driven off. We're officially living together. Now what? How do we actually make this work?
Well, now the real fun begins,
Yeah.
right? You get to navigate those day-to-day moments. The good, the bad, all of it.
Because let's be honest, even when you love someone, things can get a little messy when you're sharing a space. Like literally messy. Dishes, laundry, whose turn it is to clean the bathroom.
Yeah, all that stuff comes up. And it's those little everyday things that can really make or break the whole living together experience. That's why it's so important to establish some good habits early on. Healthy routines.
Routines. I mean, I'm all for making life easier, but doesn't that sound kind of boring? Where's the spontaneity? The romance, the fun.
Oh, don't worry, there's still plenty of room for all of that. But think of routines like a framework, a way to make sure things run smoothly so you don't get bogged down by those little conflicts.
Okay, I see what you mean. Like less arguing about who unloaded the dishwasher last, more time for fun stuff. So what kind of routines are we talking about here?
Well, think about the things that could easily cause friction. Chores, grocery shopping, paying bills, even just deciding what's for dinner. It's helpful to figure out a system that works for both of you. Who does what? How often? Do you like doing things together or solo? Just get those expectations out in the open.
Yeah, because nobody wants to be that person who's constantly nagging their partner to take up the track.
Exactly. It's all about finding a rhythm that feels fair and balanced.
But what if we have totally different styles? Like what if I'm a neat freak and my partner is more flexible with their tidiness?
That's a good question. And that's where those boundaries we talked about earlier come in. Remember, it's not about trying to change your partner. It's about finding a compromise. Maybe you agree on certain clutter-free zones, but allow for a bit more flexibility in other areas.
So like my super organized bookshelf gets to stay that way, but maybe I have to let go of the perfectly folded towels.
Right. It's about finding that balance, honoring your own needs while also respecting your partner's.
And I guess being willing to adapt as you go along. What works one month might not work the next, right?
Absolutely. Life happens. Routines are meant to be helpful, not restrictive. The key is to communicate. Check in with each other. Make sure those routines are still serving you both. If not, adjust.
Okay, I'm on board with routines. Makes sense. But what about making sure we don't lose ourselves in the process? Like, I don't want to become so focused on us that I forget about me.
That's such an important point. It's crucial to nurture your own individual interests, hobbies, friendships. Even when you're building a life together, it's important to keep those parts of yourself alive.
So it's not about becoming like one unit, a two-headed monster who does everything together.
No way. A little time apart can actually make your time together even better.
I guess absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Exactly. So encourage each other to pursue those passions. Support each other's goals and dreams. Maybe one of you loves solo hikes. The other loves painting. Make time for that stuff, even if it means spending some time apart.
And what about friends? Those friends we had before we even met our partners.
Yes. Friends are essential. They give you a different kind of support, a different perspective. Plus, it's always good to have something new to talk about when you come back together.
I love that. It's about finding that balance between we and me. Okay, I'm feeling good about that. But let's be real. Even with routines and individual time, it's easy to let the romance fade when you're constantly in each other's space. Like, how do we keep that spark alive?
You're right. It takes a little more effort when you're sharing a bathroom and bickering about whose turn it is to do the dishes. But remember, it's the little things that count. Those small gestures of love and appreciation can make all the
Okay,
difference.
so less grand romantic gestures, more everyday acts of kindness.
Exactly. Leave a sweet note, surprise them with your favorite coffee, give them a back rub after a long day. Those little things can really nurture your connection.
It's about finding those moments of connection. Maybe it's cooking dinner together, cuddling on the couch, going for a walk, just remembering that you're not just roommates, you're partners.
Absolutely. And don't underestimate the power of just checking in with each other. Ask, how was your day? And really listen to the answer. Make time for those deeper conversations, even when life gets busy. And be open to adapting, to changing things up as you go, because relationships are constantly evolving.
So true. So as we wrap up this whole deep dive into cohabitation, what's the big takeaway? What do we want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing is to remember that cohabitation, like any big life decision, is a process. It's not a destination, it's a journey. There will be bumps along the way. There will be moments of doubt.
And that's okay. It's all part of the process.
Right. But if you approach it with open hearts, open minds, a willingness to communicate and compromise, it can be an amazing opportunity to strengthen your bond and build a truly fulfilling life together.
And to find a way of living together that feels right for both of you.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. It's about finding what works for you as a couple.
That's it for our deep dive into the world of cohabitation. We hope this has helped you sort through some of those big questions and feel more confident about making the best decision for your relationship. Until next time, happy cohabitating.